my God. Máa fọwọ́ mi yìnyán lógo. Máa ohun tí mo ní yìnyán bàbá. Èrè kí ló lè jẹ́ fún mi? Nígbà tí mo bá ti wọnú ilẹ̀ lọ. Erùpẹ̀ ilẹ̀ kò lè yìnyán lógo bàbá mi. Máa fọwọ́ mi yìnyán. Máa fọwọ́ mi yìnyán lógo. Máa ohun tí mo ní o. Máa ohun tí mo ní yìnyán bàbá. Èrè kí ló lè jẹ́ fún mi? Nígbà tí mo bá ti wọnú ilẹ̀ lọ. Erùpẹ̀ ilẹ̀ kò lè yìnyán lógo bàbá mi. Orí pé ó mú mi wá láyé ó ṣeun o. Ó mú mi wá láyé ó ṣeun o. Ọjọ́ oníṣojú mi.
Wow, wow, wow. It's another Sunday in the house today where we ask you, how is your mental health? How is your mental health? This program is brought to you by KOA Foundation, which is OLUWANIYI-ASAAJU Foundation. We are passionate about mental health. We are passionate about mental illness. And we are also very passionate, most importantly, about your well-being, your mental well-being, your thinking faculty, your anatomy and physiology as it affects the brain. And this is why we, as OLUWANIYI-ASAAJU, we have decided that on a weekly basis, we will come to you with renowned persons, renowned personalities, renowned professionals who are advocates, who are seasoned authorities in the area of mental wellness, people who advocate for others, people who have written, who are scholars and write on a daily basis, write in magazines, both electronic and print media. We would bring them to you to come and educate us on mental wellness. If you remember last week, which is our debut program, I told you that this week we will begin to talk about mental wellness in deep details. I gave you a prelude to what is going to obtain in this program, and I shed light on how we are going to be discussing. Today, I bring a renowned person, a scholar, someone who, by accident, I met on Facebook, and I have been following his page since. And on a daily basis, he writes about mental wellness. And when I do read such things, I go deeper. And every time I read concerning what he has written, I get so, more and more interested and in depth. And when I scrolled down and read about him, I told myself I am not surprised that he is so educated. He's so educated. He has so much in depth into mental health as a topic. I connected with him, and this is where we are today. So on this our program, I bring to you Professor Ola Salau, Professor Sule Ola Salau, who is an authority in writing about mental health, who is an advocate, of mental wellness. He is a professor at Federal College of Technology, Akure. He's a professor there, and he's doing great exploits. And because of his expertise in nutrition, he also educates about how you can, use nutrients to actually help yourself to overcome different mental illnesses like depression, like anxiety, like so many areas, so many things that you can do to improve your mental health. So Professor Ola Salau is an authority in this area. He is an advocate, as I said, of mental wellness. He's a professor of biochemistry and nutrition, and an advocate for good governance, emotional and mental and overall well-being. He will be speaking to us today with regards to mental wellness. He's well researched and he understands the importance of mental wellness. Welcome with me to this program as I bring in Professor of Biochemistry at the Federal University of Technology, Akure Futa, and advocate of emotional, mental, and overall well-being. Professor, you are welcome to this segment of our show today. How is your mental health? Over to you, and the audience are waiting eagerly to listen to what you have to say. Thank you.
Good evening, listeners at home and abroad. As I've been introduced earlier before now, I'm Ola Salau by name, a professor of biochemistry and an advocate of mental health. Let me begin by giving us what definition of mental health is. Mental health, according to World Health Organization, is conceptualized as a state of well-being in which an individual is able to realize his abilities and his potential. It's a state of well-being in which an individual is able to cope with normal stresses of life. Also, is the ability of an individual to work fruitfully and productively, and the overall to be able to contribute his or her own quota to the development of the society. That is what mental health is all about as defined by the World Health Organization. And mental health is a subject that a lot of people don't really understand what it's all about. The reason why I'm more or less becoming an advocate of this is because there is a serious knowledge gap in the subject of mental health. Because in our society today, if we hear about mental health, the very first thing an individual would think is somebody who has lost his or her mind. But in the real sense of it, that is not what mental health is all about. As I've given my definition before, starting on the subject of today, which is the mental health and overall well-being. The overall well-being of an individual is basically physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. It is when an individual is balanced in these four areas of life that he or she can be considered to be mentally healthy: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. That is the total wellness of man. So as from the four basic areas of the total wellness that I've given just now, mental health is one of them. Spiritual health is one of them. And one fundamental thing that we need to understand is that mental health, so when somebody is not mentally healthy, it have the capability of affecting negatively the physical health. Mental health and physical health are connected. They are connected. That is, if somebody is having chronic health issues, it can later develop into a mental health problem. And the same thing, if an individual is having a mental health problem, it can develop into a physical health problem. The same thing goes with the spiritual health. If somebody is not spiritually healthy, it has the capacity of affecting the physical and the mental health. So these four are interconnected. So if we talk about mental health in this perspective, we have to understand what are even the causes or what are the types of mental health problems. We have uh, depression. Depression accounts for 60% out of the total aspect of mental health we are talking about. We have depression, we have anxiety, we have schizophrenia, we have psychosis. Psychosis and schizophrenia, these are the two aspects of mental health that makes an individual to lose his or her mind. But when we talk about anxiety and depression, these are the major forms of mental health disorder globally. Looking at the statistics of mental health globally, we have a population of 8 billion in the whole world, and 1 billion out of the entire 8 billion is having one form of mental health disorder, is having one form of mental health problem or the other. That is 1 out of 8 of the global population. So discover that mental health is not an issue that can be brushed aside. The reason why people don't really understand what mental health is all about is because of the misconception. They think mental health is all about somebody who have lost his mind, somebody who is roaming about the street. But it may shock us to understand that a larger population, a larger part of the world population suffer from one form of mental health disorder. Uh, Anxiety, if you are to define what anxiety is a state of excessive worry and anticipation of danger. Anxiety as a form of mental health disorder can be mild, it can be low, it can be moderate, it can be severe, and at the same time, it can be debilitating. So, for a number of people, they may be having, the low anxiety level is not something that can be taken as a serious problem because a number of times we have reason to be anxious for one thing on the or the other. So that shows an individual may be suffering from low anxiety. It is not a problem. It's a normal aspect of life that we need to aspire for something great. So for the low level of anxiety is not a problem. It is only becomes severe and debilitating that becomes an issue that needs to be seriously taken care of. And for somebody that is suffering from anxiety, as I've said, is excessive worry and anticipation of future danger. Somebody thinking about, what about if this happens to me? What about if I lose this? What about if this happens? This is anxiety, excessive worry. And for an individual that is dealing with excessive worry, which is anxiety, there are a lot of symptoms that the individual can manifest. It can lead to loss of sleep, which is known as insomnia. Such individual can be having pains and aches in the body, and the individual will be less productive. that is in the general review, that is what anxiety is all about. And as I've said, we have about 384 million people out of the world population of 8 billion suffering from anxiety. Then depression. Depression is a state of sadness. The individual will just be feeling sad. And depression also have various levels. We have mild depression. We have moderate depression. We have severe and debilitating. It is when it becomes severe and debilitating that it becomes an issue. I mean, the issues of life can make one to feel sad at one point or the other. It can lead to a form of mild or moderate depression. That is not a serious issue. Or it becomes severe or debilitating, of course. It has a number of symptoms that will make life unbearable for the individual. And the symptoms include a constant state of sadness. The individual can just feel sad without even understanding why he or she is becoming sad. And when this persists for a very long period of time, then it is classified as a severe or chronic form of depression. I mean, the mild one, anything can just happen, and one will feel sad in a day, and over time, the individual will get over it. So these two forms of mental health are the major component of the mental health problem globally. But of course, as I've said, we have this schizophrenia, we have the psychosis. These are the individuals that eventually loses their mind. And when an individual is suffering from chronic depression, a lot of issues can the individual can manifest a lot of symptoms, sleeplessness, pains and aches in the body. The individual will be less productive. All those things that the individual is having interest in before the development of depression, the individual will become less interested in them. And also it can manifest in a form of social isolation. That is, to have the individual withdrawing from the society. So when this happens, then there is a need for an help. And what are the causes of mental health? If you want to look at it generally, mental health at a broader level, the causes include majorly it could be genetic. That is, there are some individuals that they have it running in their genes. That does not imply that those that are having it in their gene will develop chronic depression if situation that will make it more difficult for the individual to cope with doesn't come into be. So it could be genetic, it could be it could be as a result of the chemistry and structure of the brain. And also mental illness such as depression can be as a result of low level of serotonin in the brain. Serotonin is one of the important neurotransmitter, or simply called the brain chemical that affect the mood. So when the serotonin is low, of course, it can bring about issues like depression and anxiety. Chemistry of the brain, it could be genetic, and also substance abuse. Substance abuse is one aspect that is now a burden globally. The youth of nowadays takes a lot of substances. They think it's a form of recreation. But what they don't know is that a number of these substances are psychoactive. That is, the chemistry of the drugs have something to do with the brain. I want to take a classical example of a drug I'm familiar with. Is a pain drug that is abused globally in recent time. This drug, the mode of action of the drug is that it blocks the pain center. It blocks the pain center so that any individual that is suffering from pain after the administration of the drug, the individual will not feel the pain is a means of addressing pain issue. But the youth of nowadays are taking this drug as a recreational drug because of the fact that the chemistry of the drug has to do with the brain. It blocks the pain center, but when they take drug, when this drug is taken, actually, it makes an individual to feel calm. There is a kind of a level of calmness. But if the level of the drug is now high, then of course it makes the individual to be hyperactive. They are very high, but in the reasons of it, the drug is an opioid drug. It is an opioid drug that is prescribed for people suffering from one form of illness or the other. So substance abuse is a very serious problem in our society that is making uh, mental illness to be on the increase. And other forms of issues that can lead to mental health is uh, daily stress. And we are wired differently. We are wired differently, and our ability to cope with stress equally varies. I want to give a classical example to understand the reason why some individuals will be having anxiety, depression when they are exposed to a certain situation, and some will not have the same problem. As I've said, I gave a typical example of a brain chemical that can interfere with the mood, which is the serotonin. It is the structure of the brain. The level of the production of the serotonin is dependent on the genetic composition. So if we have, for example, we have two individuals, let's take two individuals now, that maybe at the end of the examination, two students failed. If these two students get back home and they are being scolded by their parents, it will surprise us that one of the pupils that has failed the examination in the evening will walk quietly into his bedroom, pick up his football, get to the football pitch, and begin to play with his friends. And the other people who may be having a different genetic makeup, just by the mere fact that he has been scolded by the parent for not performing well, such a pupil may get isolated, he may get withdrawn, and if care is not taken, such a pupil can commit suicide. So the issues of life are equally one of the causes of the manifestation of mental health disorders, and our ability to cope with issues of life varies, arising from the genetic composition and the structure and the chemistry of the brain. I've been able to highlight briefly about what depression is all about, what anxiety is all about, and we have other forms of mental health disorder. And the serious issue that mental illness can lead to is what is known as suicide. That is intentional taking one's life. From a number of research I've done as an advocate of mental health, it's discovered that globally, events that lead to the suicide goes unnoticed. The event that leads to suicide goes unnoticed. An individual may be suffering from anxiety and may be performing very well in the place of work, may be looking perfectly okay. Such an individual will not, the society where he lives or the environment where he's working, it may not be noticed that there is a problem going on. And it is only those that are very, very close that will be able to identify that there is a big problem. There's another class of depression that is known as high functional depression. This is a form of depression that you see the sufferers, they are doing well in their career, they are excelling, they are chief executive officers in their place of work. But internally, they are dealing with issues that a number of people may not notice. That's why I said event that leads to suicide, which is the end point of mental health issues, may go unnoticed. You may not know that an individual is suffering from anxiety. You may not know that an individual is suffering from depression outside the substance abuse. If anybody is having substance addiction, of course, people in the environment will know that there is a serious problem. But anxiety, depression, and other forms of mental illness may go unnoticed. And when these becomes persistent, an individual may just one day think about ending it all. And that is the reason why there is a need to advocate for mental health issues, so that to create a kind of an awareness that one we need to to be able to provide emotional support to the sufferers of mental health issues. I mean, when somebody is dealing with mental health issue, be it anxiety, be it depression, be it bipolar disorder, those that are close with the individual will know that there is a problem, and people should rally around them, encourage them, and let them know that if they enter into this situation as a result of life challenges, we'll let them know that this is just for a while. It will go and everything will be okay. I mean, these are the kind of support that is required from the environment. And also, if we discover that the symptoms is becoming noticeable, the individual may be encouraged to see the professional. And that's why we have the psychiatrist and we have the therapist. The psychiatrists, I mean, the therapists don't make use of drug. The only thing they do is to sit the individual down, try to unravel what could be the reason why the person is suffering from depression or anxiety, and get into the root of the matter, encourage him or her, and provide some professional assistance on how to get out of it. And if it gets to a level that will require a psychiatrist, the therapist will know, and the therapist will be able to uh, encourage the individual to visit a psychiatrist. And there is one major problem we have in our society these days again. Uh, it's not something that any individual can freely express his or her mind that I want to visit a psychiatrist. There is no big deal about it. These are part of the advocacy campaign that we are doing. Visiting a psychiatrist is just to provide help in a situation like that. And they make use of drugs. Depression is treatable. What is important is to be able to understand the trigger. The medical doctor will offer medication, and over time, the situation will become manageable. So there is a need for a continuous sensitization to let the society know that mental health is just like physical health. Any individual that is experiencing a difficult time, let's say toxic relationship, a woman that is not enjoying the marriage, we can go into depression. It's not something that is irrespective of age, sex, the social status, or the educational background. Anybody can have issues that will interfere with the mental health. There's something we call post-traumatic stress disorder. Is a class of mental health as well. Post-traumatic stress disorder is, as the name implies, post-traumatic, after trauma. Life is a mixture of up and down. Anybody can experience a form of trauma, loss of loved ones, chronic illness of loved ones can make one to manifest signs of depression. I mean, these are things that can happen to any individual. So when we discover that we find ourselves in this situation, I mean, visiting a therapist or psychiatrist is not a big deal. There is a need to advocate. There is a need to sensitize our society that mental health is just like physical health. And when anybody is having the severe form of mental health, the society should have that understanding that visiting a psychiatrist is not a big deal. It's to find a lasting solution to the problem. Uh, I want to give a typical example of what happened in Nigeria recently when we have somebody who committed suicide, though at the point the family denied it, but information around the house of the individual is pointing to the fact that it may be a suicide case. This individual is a chief executive of a company, looking very beautiful, but he could not get the help until the deed is done. So what we are trying to advocate for again is that in our immediate environment, in our house, among our friends and loved ones, when we see something that is different in the individual, we should feel free to probe into what the problem is. And if we can be doing this constantly, we'll be able to avert these rampant cases of suicide. On the final note, mental health is not different from a physical health. And as I mentioned earlier on, physical health and mental health are interconnected. Someone that is having a chronic illness can have mental health issue. But because of the society we have, if the mental health issue is setting in, even the individual suffering the chronic physical health will not want to admit because it is a world that is looking more like a big world in the society. Mental health, trying to work on the mental health. The individual may not even want to agree that there is any mental health issue. So, in most cases, when we face life challenges, life situations, post-traumatic stress disorder can come into being. When we are in toxic relationship, post traumatic symptoms can set into being. And another one thing I don't want to forget here is the childhood upbringing. Childhood upbringing is very, very important in the mental health of a child, which will go into adulthood if it is not properly taken care of. A child that is living in a toxic home, before we know what is happening, may be becoming isolated, may becoming aggressive, or a child from a broken home. I mean, globally, it is assumed that product of broken home always have one problem or the other. One other thing that I always advocate when I'm talking about mental health issue vis-a-vis the childhood upbringing is to always consider the mental health of the product of a marriage before thinking about divorce. A number of research that I've done is recommending separation even if there is a problem, because in a marriage, one of the partner will be having some problems that is unable to cope with. In fact, it may even be having effect on the mental health. In as much as it is not life-threatening, in as much as the toxic home is not a situation whereby the husband will kill the wife or the wife will kill the husband. For the sake of the product of that marriage, I always advocate that considering separation and ensuring that the mental health of the child is well taken care of is very, very important, because if this one is not taken into account, children of broken home, children in a toxic home may find it difficult to even establish relationship. Product of a toxic family, these are the children that if by the time they get married, these are the type of men that are likely to be their wife. This is a problem that they have developed from childhood that is not that was not noticed, and to provide a lasting solution. So we must make sure that we consider the mental health of our children as couples. And as I've said, one component of the mental health is the spiritual. We cannot underrate the importance of the spiritual leaders in providing help in mental health issues. As a spiritual leader, if a spiritual leader wants to notice one thing or the other that is going wrong with one of your member, it may not really something that is going wrong, but it's not possible to have somebody you know when things are becoming abnormal, you know him or her in his normal state, and when things are changing, maybe the individual is getting withdrawn. It is the role of the spiritual leaders as well to provide help. There are a number of things that can lead to mental health. Poverty is one of them, like the economic challenges we are facing presently in Nigeria. If an individual is not very careful, chances are very high. I mean, there are statistically before now about 60 million Nigerians out of our population of 250 million are suffering from one mental health problem or the other. But as at the moment, out of the 250 million Nigerian, it may not be unlikely for us to be having over 100 million people that are having mental health issues as a result of the poor economic situation of the country. So what that shows is that there are a lot of factors. There are factors that we can avoid. There are unavoidable factors that when it comes, there is nothing we can do. What is important is for such people to receive help. In the present economic challenges of Nigeria, it is always advisable for those who have in abundance to look into the life of those who don't have more and give to them. Another forms of uh, cause of mental health illness is insecurity. Nigeria, as of today, there is a problem of insecurity. If you are traveling from point A to point B, you begin to think, God, don't let me have problem on the way. These are issues that is unavoidable. We have places where the problem they are having is a problem associated with all these radical gangs that they can create problem in one place or the other, killing people. These are examples of situations that can make people to develop a mental health disorder. Mental health is just like physical health. It can happen to anybody, irrespective of the age, the sex, the gender, or economic status. What is important for us is that we should be our brother's keeper. When we notice something strange in the life of an individual, let's be ready to provide help. And for those who already know that they're having a problem, they advise to visit a therapist. And on visiting the therapist, if there is a need for them to see a psychiatrist, they should do that without thinking about it's a serious problem, especially in the African continent, that is stigmatization. People will not want to visit a psychiatrist because of the stigma associated with it. But if it becomes severe, I will encourage such people to visit a psychiatrist. They are professionals that have been trained for a number of years to provide help. They'll be given medications. The therapist or the psychiatrist will dig down into the history of the problem and give them the necessary advice. It is treatable. One can get out of it. That is the only way we can help our society to stem down the tide of suicide, which is the taking of one's life intentionally. I pray the Lord will help us. We're in a challenging situation whereby we cannot run away from situations that can have a negative effect on our mental health. Let's take care of our mental health. As couples, our mental health is very, very important. As workers in various organizations, our mental health is very, very important for us to be able to be productive. Going by the definition of the World Health Organization, mental health is conceptualized as a state of well-being that makes an individual to realize his ability. Once the mental health is having an issue, the realizing one's ambition becomes a serious problem. It's very, very important for one to work productively and fruitfully. So when mental health is tampered with, productivity will be negatively impacted. And also, uh, it's an aspect that makes one to contribute its quota to the development of the society. It is when one is mentally healthy that it can contribute its quota to the development of the society. So that is the total wellness of man: the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. Thank you. If you have any question, then we can ask questions so that we can interact within the little time we are having. Based on my presentation, it will be based on my presentation, and it could be outside my presentation. And I believe by the grace of God, I will do my best to do justice to it. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Professor, I knew that you would not disappoint.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know you
yeah,
are
yeah.
notoriously,
It's a passion I have. Though I'm a
yeah,
professor of food biochemistry and functional.
biochemistry.
And arising from this, my passion at the moment, I've delved into investigating how food and natural products can
Yes.
be used in managing anxiety, depression, and other forms of mental illness. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm an advocate, but I've been able to marry my passion with my career. And I think I'm glad I'm able to achieve that.
Yes,
Uh, 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 uh,
wow. Over to you, African Portal.
all right, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. I'm so excited. A lot of people are gaining, I mean, they are joining this conversation and it's gaining momentum. Prof, let's
Yeah,
quickly look at one of the area you mentioned, especially the home, the broken home, or the home whereby the parents are too harsh and stuff like that. I just want us to look at it that in this current time, most of the homes, the parents are not too harsh, but the children are still running into depression. What causing it? We don't know.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have a very, very,
Truth,
very, very great example of that. Can you talk a bit about that? Is it
yeah, yeah, I
necessarily
will.
need that the home is tense? That is what is causing the children to be behaving or having such a mental problem, or what exactly is the cause?
Yeah, a tense home is a general, is one of the major causes of mental health issues among the children. But one other aspect that people don't really consider when they are pursuing their career, they want to make money, they don't make themselves available at home. There are some children, when the father wakes up in the morning around 6 a.m., maybe around 5, especially for those who are working in places like urban centers. They wake up very early, they get the child or the children ready for school, even when the child is still sleeping. It's because they'll be resuming early. The child is denied the required number of hours that he or she should sleep. And such a child is taken to school, and from school, they'll make an arrangement of those who pick the child back home. The parent might not even be back until 10 p.m. in the night. Maybe there is an helper that is at home. So what I'm trying to say is that isolation could be a major factor, even in a home that is not looking tensed. The fact that the parents are not available, the children feel isolated over time. Such children may develop mental health issues. And if it is not
Sorry,
well
Prof.
taken care of,
Sorry,
yes,
Prof.
sir.
I'm going to engage you more on this because this is a very serious thing, and I can guarantee you, I have a very close relative. I've been there. I understand it. The children have never been ignored. It's not been isolated. The parents have played a very good role. They're always with him, but the child just is just being rebelled, not paying attention, not following instruction.
very, very aggressive. And because even the tense family we're talking about, we live in a family whereby our parents are so harsh, and still we don't run into all these mental things that we are talking about now. We
Yeah,
live
you're
in a
very
generation
correct.
whereby the parents have toned down the punishment. Some of the
You're
punishment
very
that we
correct.
face, we cannot
Mhm,
give it to our children. But this is the children
mhm,
that the parent, they play a very great role, living in a very,
mhm,
very good environment, grew up in a very good environment, eat good food,
mhm,
going to
mhm,
school, pick him up from
mhm.
school. Everything is done by the parent. But still, this child still rebel against the parent. What could have caused that?
Yeah, yeah. A number of factors could be responsible for that. It could be maybe the environment where the child is going to school. And another factor that I want us to really look into very well, with respects to children upbringing. You know, we are now in the digital world. Some of us grew up in the analog age, and we are not exposed to computers. Research has shown that children that are on computer 24/7, they have a higher chances of developing mental health issue. Sincerely speaking, there was a time somebody spoke to me, because since it is my passion, I talk about mental health regularly. Somebody said it will surprise me to hear that none of the children of this of the founder of X or Twitter is having a Twitter account. These are the founders. They know this implication on the mental development of the children. So the use of computers, Android phones, could be an area that should be looked into. If we want to consider the mental health of our children, I think the use of phone should be highly regulated, because phone generates radiations that have impact on the mental health. In fact, from our research, there are children that have been taken to mental home basically because of the addiction to phone. So the use of phone could be one of the reasons why children that are having everything at home are still having issues with their mental health. They will be aggressive. I know you'll be aware that there is a site online where they talk about maybe Dare Me or something like that. These are sites that makes a child to be highly aggressive. Dare Me means if you don't do this, they do all manner of things. One may not really fathom the extent to which children have gone in the use of social media. They know it more than us. Social media, technology have a lot of advantages, but when it comes to the mental wellness of children, the advantages are overwhelming. It can make the child to develop a mental health that will go into adulthood. That's one classical example that can happen in a home where everything is going on well. They are rich, they have access to everything, so they have phone. So they have access to phone 24/7. And this is very, very dangerous to the mental health wellness of children.
What could have been the solution to this? What can we do, especially when the child is already more into it, very aggressive? I mean, what is the solution?
The solution to it in a typical home that you have said that when everything is going on well and the child is still becoming aggressive, becoming rebellious, one, we need to show them love, the agape kind of love, so that we can ask them questions on what is going on in their life. I want to make a practical example so that uh, listeners, both within and outside this country, will be able to learn from it. There was a time my son, he was in the secondary school. I mean, when it comes to the issue of school, as a professor, he knows the way that usually handle it may not be the way he would like. He told the mom that the school is going. He want to change. In fact, he provided this information in the mid of the session. And my wife told me, I bluff it off that you are not the only one there. There are other children that are there. You should be able to manage whatever situation that is happening that is not very palatable to you. Then when you now get into the third term, when I'm about paying the tuition fees again, the guy began to cry that he will not return back to that school. I mean, that is in the area of getting close to them to know what is happening in their life. So when we probe into the real issue, then he confided in us that there are a lot of immoralities going on in the school. It was on hearing this that I was able to now say, okay, if this is what is happening, I have to take you to another school. And I did that. In fact, the school, because it was in a rush that we changed the school. The school is not as beautiful. You know, children of nowadays, they like beautiful schools. It's not as beautiful as the school is complaining about. And when we got there, I said he's fine with it. Whether beautiful or not beautiful, he's okay with it. And he left the school and he stopped complaining. So we should probe into the life of our children regularly to know when things are going wrong with them, even to know when there is anything that we are doing that they are not okay with. We should be able to listen to them, show them love, hear from them regularly to probe into their life. And again, we need to regulate the use of the social media. Social media is not very good for the mental health of the children.
Thank you very much for that beautiful response. Ma, I'm going to allow you to say something because I'm following up this program behind the scene. A lot of people are throwing questions and talking about it, and it's gaining momentum. So let's look at the parents that is stressing about the school fees. Some parents want to give them, their children the best education. Now they enroll their children into schools that they cannot afford, and that's bring a lot of pressure on them. What can we do on this?
Thank you so much.
Okay, maybe Madam will respond to that.
I just wanted to contribute before we answer this question. Just as Prof explained and used his own family situation, his own daughter, as a case study for us, as an example. A lot of young people, as in from primary school age, secondary school age, college, university, suffer from crisis identity. And when I say crisis identity, let's remember that these children are also in the formative years of their life.
Yes.
And there's a lot of pressure out there in the society. And as Prof has rightly mentioned, social media is one of the leading causes of mental breakdown in children. And also, I would say peer pressure. When they're trying to form their own identity. And if care is not taken, as you have said, that every parent needs to rise up to the challenge of making sure they are present in the life of their child. And when we say present, it means that you should be involved, not only financial provision. You should talk to your children on a daily basis. You should talk to them, find out what is happening in their life. Take time out, even at times, Go into their rooms when they are not there. Sniff around, check their belongings. I, for one, when I tell my kids to do their laundry before they go in or when they bring the laundry down, I just, out of curiosity, I search their pockets. At times, I just go into their wardrobes. As in, be an intentional parent. And being an intentional parent means that you go out of your way and you have it at the back of your mind that I have to succeed as a parent. My children need to turn out well. And they say charity begins from home and you catch them young. And what I mean by catching them young is you start from the foundation of their life. Not that they are now 18 and they are adults, whereby you can't control them that much, especially when we live in the developed countries. You know, once a child becomes an adult, there is little or no say that you can have if you have failed between 0 and 17 years and you want to start catching up at 18. There's more than likely you're going to fail because that child has already formed an opinion, they've already formed a personality, they've already gotten to a point whereby, you know, they form their own identity. So whatever you're saying at that age might fall into deaf ears. So in essence, there's a lot of identity crisis that children are suffering from, and it affects their mental health. And if you are not close to that child or to your children, you might not get them to be able to vocalize to you. You might not get them to be able to speak to you. So having bonding and attachment with children from a very onset, from a very early onset in life, helps them when this identity crisis comes, when this young adult pressure age comes, when this complexity. A lot of children, either male or female, they suffer from inferiority complex, societal complex, just as African Potter was saying. Some parents live they live above their means. Oh, my daughter's child, my friend's child is going to Chrisland Secondary School, and as because they are friends, I have to also send that child to Chrisland Secondary School. Even when I can't afford it, I go and borrow. You know, those kind of things should affect that parent's mental, health as well. And also the child who knows that I'm just there. My mom is borrowing for me to go to school. And when she can't meet up, she has to pull the plugs or remove me from that school. You know, that situation of being removed from that school can affect the child's mental health because she's wondering, why are my friends in that school? Why can't I be? Why are my friends rich? Why are we poor? Why are my friends able to afford holidays overseas and I can't? So it's now within that parent's, jurisdiction to draw the line and let your children know, what they can afford, what they cannot afford. And this is where you play the parent and let the child be the child. You know, it takes a tough mother or father or a tough community to raise a child. You have to put your foot down where you need to put your foot down so that that child will have better outcomes in life. So in my own submission, just to back up what Prof has been saying, that yes, there's a lot of social media influence that is affecting, children, young adults. Even for my own children, I crossed the line. I gave them, phone gadgets at a very early age. And hearing Prof saying that even the owner of Twitter, I can imagine, he knows how these social media platforms having electronic gadgets, he knows how it affects children. And for him to have set that standard, and this is a billionaire making money from us, the common men on the street, but safeguarding his own children's mental health. So what are we saying? And if you are a very involved parent and your children have maybe phones, laptop, Xbox, game consoles and things like that, if you watch them very well, by the time they spend 45 minutes or 60 minutes on that electronic gadget, even if you are talking to them, they are so absent-minded. By the time they spend almost half a day on phone and you're not controlling the usage, you don't have parental lock, you don't have, the facility to tell them that, okay, this is rest time. You shut it down or you take it from them. You will see that their reaction to events, if not slow, they become very agitated, they become very irritable. And they are bound to exhibit most of the things they see on this social media platform. They are bound to exhibit them in real life, try to copy them, try to imitate them, and they begin to see it as the normal norm in the society. And if you are not careful, they challenge you and see you as not being, up to date, believing those things they see on social media as the reality of life, not what you are telling them. So if you are not careful, they become very rude, very opinionated, and they tend to have this sense of entitlement for a gadget that you paid for and you provided for them. You can just imagine that, Prof. So yeah, many things can lead to mental illness, mental breakdown, and the things our ability can control. We need to stamp our authority as parents in a supporting, in a loving manner. And it's important that we talk to our children. When I say talk, really talk. Beating them is not the way, because in the developed world where we live, you will be charged with assault, you will be charged, with safeguarding issues. Smacking is not, it's not a way of training up a child in developed countries, especially UK, America, Canada, Australia. You know it. If you do that, you might have yourself to blame in the hand of the law, and it's not taken lightly. But you know what? There's what we call the law of positive reinforcement. And also, there are ways you can talk to your child, whether a young adult, whether young children, but children generally between 0 to 19. There's a way you can come down to their level and help them to reason. Whether we like it or not, there's still a sizable percentage of children that do well, that go to further their education, that listen to their parents, and they have better outcomes in life. So what are the parents of those children doing right? What are they doing right? Because I'm someone that I'm a realist. Your child is wayward, maybe refuses to sleep at home. You have a little argument, storms out of the house, and go to friends and things like that. Or they're involved in recreation drugs, as you have said. They're involved in peer pressure, join gangs and stuff like that. And all you want to do is go and pray. I think you are missing the point. Yes, spirituality helps. But what foundation did you lay? You know, over the weekend, I was away from home, and I was with a few of my friends, which we grew up together. And we were talking about parenting, which is very hot on the agenda. And one of them, you know, discussed the case scenario and said that a mother of a child came to church and she gave a testimony in a very massive, like African setting church. And the testimony was about mistaken identity, that her son, was mistakenly carted away by the police for a crime that he did not commit. And the mother was saying, oh, we want to praise the Lord that there was a case of mistaken identity, that it was his friend that committed that crime, I think theft or something. But he was the one that was picked up before they realized that it was the friend. And after my friend left church, because it happened in our own church, she and her husband and a few friends talked about the case scenario. And one of them highlighted and said, that is actually not a testimony, because in between that testimony, he could read between the lines that this is a case of failed parenting. Analyzed it to all of us that in the first place, why would the child be mixed up in a setting on a peer or a peer group with people who commit theft crime? Because if you are not in the circle of such people, how would you be picked up or identified by police? What will lead to it? So a lot of times we actually have to look at things from the root, not the surface. It's a case of a child who hangs around children who take recreational drugs, who take cannabis, who take weed and things like that. Those are your friends. And then your friend commits a crime and you are picked up. Obviously, the police might know your group. But the question arises, how did you get there? Why do you have such friends? What did your parents fail in? Yeah, it's very difficult to raise children. But for it to get to that level, where did the cracks come in? Where did they, creep up to your parents and you? There's a gap. Prof, you understand what I'm saying? There's a gap. And we all are in it. I'm not exonerating myself. I'm not better than any of the viewers that are on this platform. What we are doing is we're brainstorming. We are looking at ways to help and support one another.
Exactly.
So over to you, Prof, in wrapping up and trying to end today's segment. And I think African Portal, are you still there? There was a question that he asked before I said I wanted to contribute. So maybe you remember that question. And
you have answered that question. You have answered the question. You have delved into the question and you have answered.
Volume, sir. I can't hear you well. Maybe your volume is fluctuating.
Yeah, I said you have answered the question very well. You have answered the
Indeed,
question
ma.
very well.
Indeed.
Yeah,
You have really
yeah,
dealt with the questions, and I'm so excited.
exactly.
I'm
With
getting
classic
feedback from people.
examples.
I'm getting feedback from people. Let me just use this time to acknowledge few people that connect and few people that send their comment. Ari B. Gola, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I have few people that is sending their comments through. Bukola Ola Salahu, thank you very much. David Akin Yosola, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate every single one of you. This is a very beautiful conversation, and I'm so excited about it. Let me just hand it over to the great woman that is behind this her program, and that is our mother, KOA founder. Ma, up to you, Ma. From the studio, you can go ahead. We really appreciate your efforts.
All
This
right.
is a great sensational
First and
program
foremost,
for our
I
community.
want to thank our great scholar,
It's a pleasure here.
academic juggernaut, our professor, my dearest friend,
Oh, yes.
who God brought my way by accident. And I know one of these days we will tell our story on
Exactly,
how
yes.
we connected, my big brother.
Exactly,
And
yes.
it's just a pleasure to have you as a friend, to
Yeah,
have
the
you as a
pleasure is all
brother,
mine here.
to have you as an academic prowess to
Thank you
lean
very
on.
much.
I
Thank
gave
you
you
very
very,
much.
very, I gave you short notice. And
Exactly,
even in the
yes.
middle of that short notice, there was a mix-up, and you didn't know that you were coming on air today. And I said,
Exactly, I
Prof,
don't know.
you know what? That is why you are a professor, an academic professor, not a
That's
ceremonial
exactly what
professor.
you told me this
So if you
afternoon.
could go through all that rudiment, all that scholarly, academic pursuit, definitely this is an easy feat. Just
And I think
one pen to your
I've done
paper,
a
your
little bit
A4
of
paper,
justice.
or in fact, half a sheet is enough for you to do justice to this. And you went over and beyond. On behalf of KOA Foundation, UK and Nigeria and diaspora, I just want to thank you
Yeah, the
for
pleasure is all
answering
mine
the
here.
call, for
The
coming on
pleasure
to
is all
this
mine here.
program, to educate us on an area where both of us are very, very, very passionate about. And I know your passion towards it. You know my passion towards
Exactly,
it.
yeah.
And together we have come together to say we want to lift our society, we want to lift humanity, we want to contribute our own quota to helping people who are suffering from mental illness, suffering from both areas in their life which they can control and they can't control, that has contributed to one form of mental breakdown, mental illness, or challenge. And to let them know there is hope.
Oh, yeah, there is hope.
Suicide is not the final
An
solution.
option. No,
There
not
is
at all.
hope
Not at
out there.
all.
And definitely, if well researched, if well articulated, if well supported, whoever is a sufferer of mental illness can bounce back.
Exactly, yeah.
They can have better outcomes in life. The journey might be long, it might be scary. You might want to give up, but do not.
Oh, yes, yes.
The very first way to conquer mental illness is by speaking out.
Exactly, yes.
Is by speaking out, seeking support. While seeking support, you might encounter challenges.
Oh,
And what
yes,
do I
yes.
mean by challenges? Stigmatization, labeling, you might encounter wrong diagnosis, wrong treatment, because that does happen. But
Yes.
with tenacity, with positivity, which is very hard to
Or it's
actualize
achievable.
when you're going through mental challenges and illness, is very, very difficult to be positive, because the way a normal and well person thinks is different from the way someone who's going through mental illness thinks. You are beclouded with negativity, and that is where the support
Illusions.
comes in. The real support structure, people who will be like Aaron lifting the hand of Moses. That's where they come in.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
next week on this segment of How is Your Mental Health, we're going to be delving and discussing, why do people not seek help? We're going to look at that in depth. What are the challenges which Prof has already identified and scraped some off, and set the ball rolling? Why do people not speak up? Why do individual sufferers, those going through mental health illnesses, why are they secretive? Why are they quick to hide? Or people who are living with sufferers of mental illness, like maybe if your children are suffering from mental illness and you as a parent, why are you not talking about it? Why are you not seeking help in the right quarters? And what is the fine line between religiosity and professional help? We need to look at that. Am I right, Prof?
Yeah, you are very correct.
Where do we draw the line between spiritual help and professional help? Because as a healthcare professional, I am an authority in that area of accessing professional support for mental wellness and mental illness. And I would tell you that I am shocked at the amount of lack of education, especially within the Black society, the African society, about the level of stigmatization, the level of labeling, the level of of criticism of people with mental illness. And we as Africans, we are very good at judging. So the judgmental nature attached to mental illness. Next week, we are going to discuss it, bring in people who are either who have passed through, who have suffered mental illness and have overcome it. They would come to tell their story and the impact of stigmatization, the impact of labeling, the impact of negative judgment, and how it affects those who are going through mental health challenges, mental illness, and how, as Africans, Black people, Nigerians in diaspora, Nigerians in Nigeria, and other African countries, how we as the Black race, how we contribute, and if not careful, lead mental health sufferers to suicidal ideation and also committing suicide through our utterances, through our labeling, through our stigmatization and
Exactly.
moral judgment. So before I draw the curtain on this episode and this session of how is your mental health, I would just like Prof to give us just one word to round up, and to also tell us briefly what he does on his page, his social media page, because it's loaded, and I'm sure he's streaming from there now. And most of his viewers and most of his followers are actually seeing the great work he's doing, because we're stepping on, solidifying, we're consolidated, we're consolidating on a new age right now, a new dispensation in your work, and we'll be working very closely and doing so many other things. So over to you, Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much. On the final note, I just want to tell the viewers that mental health is the same as physical health. When we hear anything about mental health, it is a myth to think that when we talk about mental health, we are talking about somebody who is not coordinated. Just as I've said, in a gathering of 100, if you are to evaluate 100 people in any given setting, upon evaluation, it should be scary to discover that about 70, or let's say 70 may be too much, 60 of them are having one form of mental health issue or the other without knowing, because it's possible one may not even know. So that's the reason why we should see it as physical health, just like somebody having headache. It is the same thing. It is only the severe aspect of it that people are always thinking about, which is psychosis and schizophrenia, but all other forms are very common in our society without even knowing it. So I will want us to always check on our mental health, check on the mental health of our children, ensure that we do everything humanly possible to be mentally healthy. Because it is when we are mentally healthy that we'll be highly productive and contribute our quota to the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So
The
on
pleasure is
behalf
all
of
mine.
KOA Foundation, I want to thank African Portal for giving us this platform, even to be able to convey, and because he's passionate about mental wellness as well, he has said, you know what, I'm going to work together with KOA Foundation to achieve this feat, to achieve this dream, and together educate the populace, together educate the public, and together effect, changes that will bring great outcomes for the African community and the wider, community all over the world, to support in mental wellness. Whether we like it or not, the head is the, how will I call it? Omani ori lobara.
Then it is a
In
control
Yoruba
point.
adage,
It's
if you
a
are not
control
well
point.
upstairs, the head is the king of the body.
Exactly, yes. Exactly,
If
yes.
you are not well upstairs, there is no way you can function.
Exactly.
And as
That
I
is the
said, the brain is an organ, just like every part of the body. The brain does get sick, it gets tired, and many things contribute to the brain getting ill or sick, and that our professor has done justice to. So if you missed the live stream of this program, please, you can go back and watch it from the beginning, share it to your various platforms, and comment below, share and like. And also, as the screen is moving, there are phone numbers you can access, because apart from talking, we want to hear you. We want to hear from you. It's a continuous battle for all of us, mental wellness. So if you need help, if you need support, if you need to speak out, You can speak to people you don't know. I told you that I met a prof through his social media Facebook page, and we started talking. Lifelong friendships are formed. And not only that, talking to someone might prevent suicide. Talking to someone might prevent further mental, illnesses or challenges. So we want to hear from you. You can call the studio number. You can chat in inbox. You can send, you can send messages. Prof's Facebook page is just look for Ola Salau. Am I right, sir?
Very correct, ma'am.
Yeah. And mine is TOYIN OLUWANIYI-ASAAJU. So you can drop your comments there. You can inbox, because this is a very, very important, it's a very important healthcare issue, which we have to continue to talk about.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
to prevent suicide from occurring. So once again, I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for being on this platform and supporting KOA Foundation in its pursuit, in its fight, and in its supporting humanity in the area of mental wellness. Until I become your host again next week on How is Your Mental Health, brought to you by KOA Foundation, I want to say thank you, God bless you, and have a wonderful week.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this platform.
And call you once we finish the program. So, African Portal, thank you so much. And this is where we draw the curtain. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Joining us. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for connecting to the African Portal. You can reach out to us, call us on +277033584. And at the same time, today we are celebrating one of the great men of our time, Apostle Roland. We celebrate this special day with you. We wish you long life and prosperity. The African Portal is changing narrative. We celebrate people while they are still here. So join us as we celebrate everyone born in the month of July on this special day, 14th of July. We say happy birthday to you all born in the month of July or born on this day. Let's celebrate this great man. We have few videos to celebrate him. And from here is goodbye. God bless you. Have a great night. See you again tomorrow. Join us tomorrow. It's going to be a great time with Isaac Thomas all the way from United States of America. And we're going to be celebrating the birthday of few people born on that day tomorrow. That is on the 15th July. Let's celebrate them. God bless you. Bye for now.
The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here.
On behalf of all of us at ECM, we have expanded our reach to Centurion Pretoria.
Those that in the presence of God, there's a fullness of joy.
To our friends in Midrand, Hubelhorde, Roskral, Clubview, and Irene, we invite you to join us on this exciting new chapter.
There's a dream inside you. There's a vision inside you, which the world is waiting for.
As it's your time to experience the God of financial breakthrough and receive your testimonies. This Sunday, we welcome you to our new location at number 147 Burger Avenue, Barclay Center, Littleton Manor, Centurion, and experience God's love and favor in your life. For more info, please contact these numbers 0836584190 or 0731865104.
From today, I'm somebody. Your hands are blessed. Amen. God is turning around all things for your good. In the name of Jesus Christ.
We love you all. Stay blessed and see you there.